This is where we move with power and heal with purpose. Welcome to the MOOV Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the MOOV Podcast. We have a special guest today to join us for another episode of the MOOV Podcast. And this guy's a special guy. Shawn Taylor is a husband and father living in Utah. He's the founder of Onsite Stretch and Wellness, a corporate and studio wellness company serving teams around Utah. Me and Shawn met 2 years ago.
Yeah, dude, it's
2 years ago.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 2 years ago now. And we met when we were trainers at a gym here in Utah, and it felt like right away we just hit it off enough where we're just like, we're gonna be friends.
Yeah. And
we just talked. I felt like we didn't do much at the gym besides just talk.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, oh yeah, we gotta train people. My bad. And it was cool because we both left that gym at pretty similar times.
Yep.
But you ended up showing me what you really do, not only just at the gym, but when you serve your clients, not only with just stretching, but with your chair that you have. And I'll have you talk about that later. But it was really cool to expand my horizon into that field, because being a personal trainer, you kind of just like think of doing workouts, giving them a nutrition plan. And a lot of people thrive in that space, but it's really just one avenue. And you kind of showed me another avenue that a lot of people miss or mistake when they do in any sort of training. And so I thought that was really cool that you were able to gain a lot of traction doing that. And I want to share that with our viewers and with our people, what you really do and like how it came about and why it's so important to people.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to be here. I appreciate you inviting me to come on. I am, and haven't always been, but have become extremely passionate about the space of kind of getting people from that sympathetic to parasympathetic state, realizing that, just the overload that we have from day to day. And when I say we, I'm talking about our kids, I'm talking about all of us, but I especially see it in our youth right now as they're growing up with devices, obviously all around us. You almost can't avoid them. Even if you're a household that doesn't necessarily have devices going all the time, or you have time limits, just this overload that we're on. And I started to see it in my own kids, and it started presenting itself, which actually transitioned me from what I used to do, which was very techie, and I was an IT guy for a number of years, and lived in the world of software, and thought that was life. And through one of my children who struggled, realized that the brain is super powerful, super intriguing to me. He had some issues that we were trying to work through, kind of more on the spectrum. And through that journey with him, it made me realize I had a passion for the things that I do now.
Right.
And so, which is crazy as I look back. I would have never thought that this would be who I am in my life today. But I'm seeing the ability to use some of that technology and some of the things that are available out there today in more of a way to get us from that sympathetic to parasympathetic and rest and digest state. I see it a lot here in Utah specifically, and I think there's this pressure that's a little unique, maybe even to Utah. I think people get married a little bit younger here, just based on the national average, right? Start having kids and families, which I applaud and I think is great. I did the same thing, had my family young, but that adds a different pressure where you're not focused on your career, build your career, and then you start a family. I think what happens is you try to balance those things. Mm-hmm. And with the pressure of trying to perform in a world that is ultra demanding, I mean, Utah is known for a lot of very successful companies, pressure cookers that, everyone's trying to build the next unicorn startup. And so in that, we're going all the time. It's just a constant go. One of the the benefits of living in Utah as well is we have some of the most beautiful, part of the country to live in. And so you can get away and you can get into nature and you can get away from those things if you make the time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a lot of us, myself as well, I've gone through spurts where I've, consciously made the time and sometimes I don't. And I think it is about consciousness. I think it is about, actually making that time for yourself, for your family, for whatever is important beyond, the rat race of trying to, support a family, build the next whatever big thing, right? So, but it's hard. It's hard to balance that, and it only gets harder with all the time-saving things that we have with the advent of AI and the ability for it to really create and build and do the basic day-to-day stuff. I think we're filling that time with things that, we need to probably, and I say we collectively, right? Like I'm pointing at myself here, guilty of not allowing myself that space and time. But again, jumping around a little bit, through my son and through the things that we did with him, ended up working with a company that really was all based in neuroplasticity-based exercise and really focusing on the brain and the body connection to build the two so that they were kind of in better communication. Right. And interestingly, it shifted my gears into a focus on kind of the more human aspect of the things that we go through and the importance of that brain-body connection, which led me into stretching.
Yeah.
Stretching, so you kind of look at it and you think, IT guy to stretching, I don't see how that works. I get asked that question all the time, like, how do you go from that to that?
Yeah.
And it is an interesting jump to make, but the more I started realizing what it did for me personally and what I saw in others, the more I just caught on fire.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing the training that I got through working at the company I was with and the program that helped my son, and seeing how that movement and that connection, from left to right, the breathing, the impact that it has holistically on the person as a whole, whether it's in training, personal training, building their body, it really does start with the mind, the nervous system, and then the body is impacted either for better or worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I think it's really cool because when you got into that space of the mind-body connection, I think that's where you and I connected even after the gym, because I was going through a situation with my 9-year-old daughter. At that time, she was only 7, but it was trying to figure out kind of her brain and how it's working and why it's this way and doing that. So you were able to help me in that space because of what you were going through with your son. And so I like that you kind of you have to understand your brain, or at least you try to, in some sense, and how it works, because then your body can shift through those things that it needs to. Or if you're the opposing person, you can try to figure out, okay, how's this person's brain working, whether it's a mental illness or it's an actual physical disability, just so you can cope and try to figure out not to be so pissed about what may be going on with that person. So I really enjoyed having that time. And she actually still, that book that you gave us, she still sometimes does some of those workouts.
Cool.
And it helps a ton because it almost, in some sense, it centers her back into just the perfect part of the brain.
Yep.
Makes her super mellow, calm. She'll even do them sometimes before going to school, getting on the bus, and she'll just relax a lot more. And it's interesting because not a lot of people think that, you just suck it up and leave and go and whatever and get outside. But in reality, I think it's a lot of stuff that we need to really fix in our brain, and then our body will just adapt and follow to what that is. So tell us how, when you transition from into the stretching, what in stretching it makes that so realistic to a lot of people? Why is it so important?
Yeah, so I tell people often, stretching's not the end all be all.
Yeah.
It's a great modality. It's super beneficial for a lot of reasons. I think most of us know a lot of those things. I mean, it's just the feel good. There's a side effect to it, but I think more importantly is what it does. And the way I talk to my clients is that it's more about the nervous system. It's about regulating and baselining your nervous system. It allows you to take that time to the consciousness, right? Yeah. Take that time to consciously be about yourself.
Yeah.
And as I'm stretching people, and backing up here a little bit, self-stretching is amazing, right? We should all be at some level stretching. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. They'll say, I don't ever stretch. And I'm like, but look at you, you work out, right? And they're like, yeah, I work out all the time. Then you're stretching.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing a proper workout, then you're getting a full stretch. No difference between me pushing against your arms and stretching them out and a weightlifting bar and pushing you into that position. Just, again, the consciousness around what you're doing. So when somebody's on my table and I'm able to take them into a range of motion, the idea is that their body is in a neutral state, right? They're completely relaxed. They're not having to use stabilizer muscles to really get into that position to hold that stretch. They're not fighting their own mind. They're more fighting me.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, but you're a little more willing to succumb to that and to concede to somebody else putting you into that position, especially if you know that they're trained properly. Yeah. So all of those things combined, I think, help with them being able to get into a really good stretch. And what I find in most of my clients is they start realizing, oh, I'm really tight there, or I'm tighter on the left side than the right. Now, to most people, that just seems like, okay, I've got some things to do. That is super common. Left and right side tension, front and back tension are super common, and they can change throughout the day. So it's not an indication of any kind of major thing unless there is. And there sometimes is. It can be a sign of something bigger. But in most cases, we all shift. Weight. It could be how we were sitting throughout the day. It could have been how we slept the night before. But what I start looking at is how it also impacts the brain and how we start thinking and processing. The brain is super powerful and will control the nervous system to allow movement. So a movement that you think you can't make safely, I can assure you probably can. You may not like it, but it's like when we push ourselves in the gym, right? Yeah. We usually break in the mind before we break in the body. Mm-hmm. The body can do a lot of things that even surprise us at times, but the mind is a lot of time what kind of is preventative in that. Whether we think we can't because of future failures or past failures, or we just, are trying to be protective. That is where the nervous system starts to come into play with our body. And when you're in the table and you're breathing and you're just relaxing and your body starts to go into that more parasympathetic state, you find that your body relaxes around the movement as well. Super important. You start looking at different medicines around the world. You look at Eastern medicine, you look at, yoga and the things that people do into their late 90s, across the world. And I think we're starting to go more in that direction. We're starting to welcome some of that kind of, preventative health or preventative medicine that allows us to continue to move. When I was younger, it was about being as big as I could, right? You got to be as strong as you can. You want that six pack. You want to look good. And not that I don't want that anymore, but I would take mobility and just the ability to get up off the ground easily over
without any grunting.
Right? Yeah, without any, there's still going to be a little grunting, but but keeping that ability to do that as I age and as I work with some of my clients who their focus isn't so much, hey, I want to be able to do the splits. That's great. It's a great party trick. But it's not something necessarily, unless you need it for whatever athletics you're in, is really necessary, right? Yeah. So a lot of times people associate stretching with a couple of things. One, flexibility, which is great. I'm more focused on mobility, nervous system regulation. The other thing that they associate with it is a lot of times is pain. And I try to assure them that when they get on my table there's not going to be that pain associated with it because we're going really slow. It's methodical movements. There's no surprise or quick movements. So as we get into a specific movement, if there is any kind of, pressure around it that they're uncomfortable with, obviously they're going to let me know. I'm going to feel it between us working together. Yeah. We're going to get them into a really good stretch. So.
Yeah. I love that. So when I've heard this in the past, like especially being an athlete, a lot of your symptoms, like say if I had a lower back issue, a lot of the symptoms are coming from like the lower extremities. Is that correct?
That is typically correct. Yeah, you have compensation and you have referral tension throughout the body. So obviously it's a chain. Yeah. It's a kinetic chain, right? So a lot of that posterior chain or the back of the body has a lot of those really deep muscles that are going to give us the stability and the strength. And as we're performing in whatever athletics we're performing in, there's a lot of kinetic buildup, a lot of kinetic energy that we're transferring, into something. Mm-hmm. And, if it's an impact sport, we're taking that impact. So that kinetic energy is really forcing our body into the kind of body that we need for whatever sport we're doing, right? Yeah. And so it really is dependent on what we do day to day, how we use our body, how we test it, how we push it. Obviously, weightlifting can help tremendously. If I had the choice to be strong or flexible, I would choose strong, right? Yeah. Because it's going to help support my body in those times as I age to keep me upright, keep me active. But if I could have both, I would take both, right? Yeah. So I want to be strong and I want to be flexible, which is in my mind true mobility and the ideal for your body. So a lot of times, you have this low back issue and you focus on where the acute pain is. You focus on the low back, right? I got to stretch my back. It hurts. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe you have a bulging disc. Maybe you have some kind of, something on the nerves, which shouldn't be stretched, by the way. But stretch it more. Yeah, we're going to stretch it more. We're going to make it all day. But honestly, a lot of times it's just an imbalance. If you start looking at yourself, if you're shifting weight, if you're pushing weight into one hip as you stand, which I do often, if you're sleeping on awkwardly and you wake up a little sore, it doesn't always mean it's the back that is the culprit. Sometimes it's in the lower part of the body, which then starts creating you to carry your upper body a little off. Yeah. And then that can start causing tension headaches and shoulder issues and other kind of problems.
Yeah. Because I've noticed that, especially if I've taken care of like even just my feet. Yeah. Being super mobile with my feet, putting like a one of those lacrosse balls under my feet and just rubbing that out, and then stretching calves. Especially my calves, because my calves have always been super tight from when I was in doing triathlons. The transition from going on the bike to a run, I always had like the mile before I got off the bike, I was doing this strategically too, but like I would have to take my foot out of the shoe because it was clipped in. So that I did that for a reason, just because I wanted to transition faster out of the bike. Yeah. But also I took it out of the shoe just to push my foot and like stretch it while I'm biking, because that movement going from this to this movement, it will just instantly cramp my calves. And sometimes I got away with it, sometimes I didn't, and I had to like mid-run, they both cramped and I had to stop and just punch the crap out of them to get it out, But when I realized, I'm like, okay, I need to take care of those areas for sure, because I noticed when those started, cramping or getting inflamed, my lower back started getting a lot more issues. And so taking care of your lower extremities is super important, especially as, us getting older. I mean, you're not that old. This young buck over here. Right?
But, getting there. Yeah. I haven't grade like you did, so I feel pretty good.
Yeah. His body's old, but
there you go.
His age
already did that to me.
Yeah. For a young guy.
Yeah. So I think especially like you, I was so focused on getting big when I was younger.
Sure.
And that now is putting a lot of damage on my body. So I'm like, okay, now I need to be mobile. Yeah. Still try to be as big as I want or can, but in a feel-good space of like, okay, this is too big, this is too small. Where's the middle space, and then where can I be super mobile, and just be active enough, not only just for my kids, for myself, to protect if I need to. You know, I don't want to run up and jolt, you know, fast to go get my gun and then like break my back. You know?
Right, exactly.
So it's like those types of things I think of a lot, especially now as an older guy, that I'm like, okay, I got to be super mobile in the gym. I sometimes get in a routine of just working out on the machines, but now I'm getting into a routine where it's like actual like dynamic movements and things that are very different for the body, and it gets me sore in spots that I haven't gotten sore in a long time. So being able to be mobile, especially with stretching, is super crucial, especially as you age. But I feel like if anybody's listening that's younger, like do the stretching now. As you get older, then it will still continue to be, you know, feel good. So
I got in a spot like that. You know what I mean? Where it was like, I'm young. I can wake up. I can work out. I could go throughout my day and be just fine. Now, if I go to the gym, it's if I don't stretch and warm up before, and I don't stretch after, I am useless for like a good couple days, and like it affects different things. You know what I mean? Because then now I'm aware that okay, my body hurts a lot more. There's aches and pains in different areas because I'm not doing the thing that I need to be doing with stretching, and it comes to the point where like I do. What if I got to jump up in the middle of the night and like put my family on my like that video you sent me yesterday? It was like I'm 40 and I'm good in the gym, but now I can't put my family on my back and like take them out of the house because I'm just like I'm scared I'm gonna hurt something. You know what I mean?
It's damaging when you like me. Gosh, it was like mid-20s is when my back like really kind of just messed with me. And it started when I remember it was my nephew. He was like, they were like maybe 3 or 4 at the time. And I was at the house and they ran past me and I literally just went like this to just like grab them. And my back tweaked. I was like, oh God. And it just like, what the crap? So
at least that was a movement. Wait till you sneeze. And
I've done that too. I've done that too, where like sneezing and it pinches your neck. You're like, oh my God.
It's horrible. And, you know, and I think too, you start looking at a lot of the more popular workouts right now. You guys mentioned high rocks and some of those more active things. A lot of people playing pickleball. Jiu-jitsu obviously is a big one where mobility is super important, not just so you can, you know, pull rubber guard or get in positions, you know, and not get tapped, but just, you know, the ability to not be able to move the next day, right? And so with a lot more people, I think, participating in things like that, I think, you know, mobility just becomes super important. You know, I was in the world growing up, you know, seeing the UFC come into, you know, focus here and growing up with Hoist Gracie and some of those guys. I'm looking at these guys and thinking, this guy's going to get destroyed. He is absolutely going to get demolished. And watch him go in and just dominate for many years in a row, you know, and you start seeing the importance of, he didn't have to be the biggest guy in the ring. He just had to be the smartest guy and be able to know what he was doing to submit his opponent. So, but I think it's, you know, as we do more different sports, we're not just going to the gym. You know, the gym that my dad went to is different than the gym I go to today. You know, there's a lot more equipment, a lot more ways to exercise different things. And then there's a lot more ancillary sports and things that just pop up out there. You know, pickleball being one of them. One of the biggest ones that's causing the most injuries out there right now for the you know, aging generation. But,
well, I feel like it's all the older people that are doing the pickleball.
It is.
And then they're rolling their ankles, they're falling, hitting their shoulder, whatever.
It is kind of become an epidemic. It's one of the fastest growing sports. And with that, obviously, the numbers kind of align in that percentage of injury is kind of staying consistent with it. And then, of course, you take the dynamic of, you know, the age, like you mentioned, of the people that are playing. And so, it's definitely one of those things where you really got to be kind of on your game because you don't know. You know, I tell people, they'll say, well, I'm worried to stretch because I don't want to hurt myself or stretch in the wrong way. And I'm like, think about life. You don't prepare for a twisted ankle, right? You don't stretch preparing that I'm going to step off the curb and, you know, and roll my ankle. but you should.
Yeah.
Right? You should stretch in those ways. And I tell them, as long as you're stretching in a controlled fashion, you're not going too much, too heavy, or doing it just before you go into battle, right? There's no reason to go into a really deep static stretch just before you're getting ready to play basketball or something, right? Yeah. But certainly after, get in a cold plunge, get in a sauna, get some good stretching in, foam roll, do all that stuff. Prepare your body for the unexpected. That's probably the best advice I usually give people. They ask me, what should I stretch? Stretch everything. Stretch it in ways that you wouldn't think are needed, as long as it feels good and it's not causing any kind of real damage. I'm not telling you to go into, a super deep, inversion table and just hold yourself there in a hanging position for hours, right? Pull you apart. The old stretch rack. But certainly, prepare for life, and that's hard to do because life's unpredictable, right? We don't know what's coming around the corner, but I've known some people that have gotten into some pretty serious impacts through sport, through being on motorcycles, been on horses, and have weathered the storm because they were so prepared in their stretch and strength that they had. So
I think it's really not only just important for every generation to stretch, but I think it's just like, I don't know if a lot of people understand how to do it, because we're taught the generic, touch your toes and that type of stuff, but in reality, like, that only does a few things. So a lot of people, like, what would you say people can do maybe in the morning to, like, center themselves, ground themselves, that nervous system, to really get back to themselves in the morning and then go about their day? What maybe things or tips?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Obviously, breathing is super important. It relaxes the fascia. Fascia is just that connective tissue all around our body that helps us hold form. It's around our muscles. It's around our joints. It's around everything. Typically, when we've been in a fixed position for however many hours, we've been sleeping that night, whatever positions we were in, our body's going to probably be a little more tight and a little sore getting up. So just some basic movement and some breath work with it is super important. I was just thinking a random thought here, but I think a lot of times our medical system, not to harp too much on that, but we're a lot about that reactive kind of treatment. Whereas I think about some other countries out there where, like, even having flat feet, right? We talk about the feet being super important. I have super flat feet. You realize, they'll like pick up marbles with their toes and walk them across to the other side of the room and go back and do towel exercises with their toes and feet to really build up the strength of the arch. We just, assume we're going to have back problems when we're 40, right? And get orthotics and do things to try to, eliminate some of the pain, but we realize it's going to happen. I think being preventative on a small scale, like that's bigger stuff, right, over a long lifetime. But just in that morning routine, really any kind of movement, to get the blood flowing, to get the mind right, is super important. The McGregors, those are fun because you're really getting the whole trunk, the torso, everything moving together, getting your body to bend and just open up before you really start using it is important. And I'll try to quickly put it in a story. So a lot of the people that I work with that have had or have current injuries tend to be medical responders. They tend to be police officers who you think about their job. If they're on the road in a car, they're sitting in a fixed position for any number of hours, right? When they make that stop, probably doesn't matter what it is. They're probably a little escalated, adrenaline's going, right? So they've got gear on. I like that I'm seeing that it's more now vest gear rather than belt gear because it's a little easier on the body. But nonetheless, they've got all this gear on, and they immediately go into action mode. Right. I got to go from a fixed seated position. I've been there for how many hours potentially, and now I've got to jump up, and immediately, what does that do to the body? The body has to respond like instantly. So when they do that, they tend to get hurt, but the adrenaline's going, so they don't realize it until they've done it over and over and over again, and then before you know it, there's a sustained injury.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, the perspective of the everyday person, they're getting out of bed. If they immediately try to go into some kind of a movement for their body, that's a little more aggressive than just your wake up and get started, then that potentially can cause that what I call repetitive motion injury.
Yeah.
Repetitive motion can be what you do at work. It can be what you do first thing in the morning. But the best way, I think, to avoid that is to really get the body prepared, as you mentioned, for what it may or may not come, may happen during the day, right? So really starting with the feet, getting the feet woken up, getting the calves pumping the blood back up to the body, and then just kind of working your way up from there. Obviously, neck, shoulders, all of that stuff, getting some good rotations in. I say this like I do it every morning.
We all should.
Right? So, but it is the practice that I think we should all, as much as possible, adopt, because it can help prevent some of those otherwise injuries. And then just listening to your body. Am I feeling tighter on one side versus the other? Why is that? Maybe it's because of how you slept. But just being aware of that, so you're not shifting too much weight during the day.
Well, I even saw a video, and it was talking about. And I only listen to these type of videos if it's talking about the mind, body, and spirit.
Yep.
And it was really cool. He was a former Navy SEAL. He was talking about like the David Goggins, like all these guys get up, super early in the morning and run like marathons, and Jocko getting up at 4 a.m. and getting his workout in. Yeah. And those are all good and great, and those are like the physical, physical is part of this fitness. But he's like the things that we do in normal life, he's like, that would be great to be a David Goggins or a Jocko, but in normal life, we're, as fathers, kids may be up all night, so we don't get as much sleep, or we have to hurry up and get up and go to work, so it's different things that the life kind of throws at us that we have to compromise with. Mm-hmm. It's like, we can't go to the gym this morning because now I'm late because I was up all night and now I have no energy to go to the gym. So most of the time we have to compromise either our mental or our physical. He's just like, but the one thing that I realized that I never want to compromise is my spiritual. And he's like, if I do that at the beginning of the day and ground myself, and he's just like, whatever it is, if it's reading the Bible or if it's walking outside, going for a walk for 20 minutes, he's like, the spiritual aspect of that is that you're now grounded. Your nervous system is grounded in that level. You're like, okay, I could conquer the day. And I took that a little further once I saw that. It's like, especially with this type of stuff, because I've studied a lot of things that are crucial to do in the morning. So that is one of them, the spiritual aspect of how you center yourself back into yourself, because a lot of people will get up, look straight to their phones, or get right to work, or get busy with doing whatever, and never take at least 5 minutes for themselves. And I always told my clients, like, do that in the morning. If it's 5 minutes, if it's 2 minutes, hopefully you can do 10 minutes, but take that time just for you to do your thing. And that's the spiritual aspect, to be able to connect to themselves. And that, again, doing those things, whether it's moving your body, stretching your body, getting in that spiritual aspect of like doing breath work or doing a cold plunge or stuff like that, really centering themselves back in their body is really important to start your day. It's like an engine, it's like a car. You're not going to start it up and just head out real quick. You want it to warm up and, fuel it with the things that it needs to be fueled with, and then go for it. So it's super crucial. And I wish I can do that every single day. But again, I'm a dad.
Right.
I'm up 4 or 5 times a night trying to, calm down the girls, and then hopefully have enough energy to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll get those moments where like they sleep in and I'm up at like 6 a.m. I'm like, oh, okay, give me those 5 minutes just to like, not listen to any single thing in the morning. It would be super nice to have that.
You have to. And I think that's a form of just like an active recovery.
Yeah.
Right? Like people, like in your mind, when you're trying to get into shape, you're so focused on getting into shape that you forget that it's so important that you need to have a form of recovery. Otherwise you can't keep going. You know what I mean? Like if you're always beating your vehicle down on the bumpy road, like if you're not doing the preventative maintenance and you're not doing the active recovery for it so that you're making sure that it can run on that road for miles and miles, like you're at a loss. When you, especially as you get older, it just gets worse and worse. You know what I mean? You're not going to get to your 40s and be like, oh, I feel great. You're going to be like, oh, shoot. Like, I wish I would have, could have, should have. And I think that's most people when they get older, they're like, I wish I would have, and that's what we want people to understand, that like, do it now, start now, do it now. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself now so that you're mobile in your 80s. And that you can pick up your grandkids, and you can spin them around and have a good time and still have the energy and ability to do things they want to do.
And it's when you start appreciating that stuff that you want to use it, right?
Well, it's important too, especially because like I've seen guys, especially in the bodybuilding world, that couldn't even like scratch their neck, the back of their neck, because they're so massive. I'm like, dude, I don't even know how you
what good does that do you?
Like, how do you wipe your ass? It's like that type of stuff, and that mobility is not mobility. Like, you're big and huge, but then like if you get in a fight,
you're not functional.
You might be able to swing a few, but you're gonna probably tire out because you're so big. And then your body's not gonna take over. So you're.
Well, and psychologically, that stuff too. I mean, a lot of times that becomes a lot of guys' identity, and as they start to lose that, already is tough enough. Being a guy, having that body dysmorphia and that feeling of inadequacy, and really trying to maintain and keep that. And so, when you couple that with the loss of just functional movement, I mean, it just really is depleting, and it's depressing for a lot of reasons. I go back to that spiritual side. I think giving yourself that time and introspectively looking at yourself also puts you outside yourself in kind of a weird way. And I think that's what it's all about. Life, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized, you are the main character in your, in your movie here. But at the same time, it's bigger than that. There's more to life, and there's more to all of this than us. And I think as we take ourselves away from that, it actually does more for us, than we can even possibly imagine. And I heard before, I don't know where this came from, so I can't give anybody credit necessarily for it, so I'll take credit. But
I said it.
Right, exactly. No, but it's there's people that go through life and they say, look, it happened to me, right? It's the to me. This happened to me, and they're just very reactive. It's very, they live in that kind of victim mentality, whether it's good victimhood or bad, right? And then there's people that you kind of go into that next phase, which is by me. Look what I've done. Look at me. Look at how big I am. Look how strong I am. Look at what I've accomplished. And then there's through me, right? And I think that's where we kind of, transfer into that state where we're doing things like you guys are doing right now, or this is happening through you guys in order to do a better good for others, right? It's beyond self. It goes into being able to take the divine and actually do something through this way of being able to communicate and reach out to others. And so I love that. I kind of live by that idea that, you can go through life in a lot of different ways. You can live in one of those buckets. But I think doing things through you on a spiritual sense, and letting that guide, who you are and what you do, actually pays back more to self, right? Not that that's why we do it, but it really does. I mean, as we look at what makes us, again, even as I look at my child, my son, had I not had that experience, which seemed really tough, and it, at times it is, I wouldn't have been able to do so much good that I'm doing now, right? And so it actually comes that full circle, and you realize you have a calling and a passion towards things, so it's really cool. Really cool.
And I love that, like, you saw that, especially now, like you're seeing the fruits of that, even though they do suck at the moments. You're like, why is this going, through me? Why is this happening to me? You do get in that victim mentality. We all do.
They all do.
But it's, if you have, you could be that way too, and it's fine. But I think it's, if you know more than like, okay, this is happening to me, but I know that there's something good on after this,
right?
Where I'm going to learn something from this, and that's where I was probably too. I mean, right when you met me, actually, it was kind of when I was transitioning out of that victim mentality, because there was a lot of stuff that was happening to me before that. I was like, dude, why the hell is this happening?
Right. Yeah.
And so then, MOOV came about, and this whole journey of like, oh, this is why 10 years ago this thing happened to me, and now I get to put it into, this movement. And so I think if you are setting yourself in that spiritual sense in the morning, I hope that you guys can do it in the morning, because I think that's the only time. Plus, I feel like if you do something for yourself at the beginning of the day, because if you say that you're going to do it at the end of the night or the middle of the day, you're probably not going to do it, because you're pushing yourself off. You're saying yes to everything else and no to yourself.
Yep.
So then, in essence, you're more self-conscious. You're more like you don't feel good about yourself, because your unconscious mind is telling you like, no, I want to have your attention, but you're not giving it to me. So now it's just like that feeling of self-consciousness and feelings of regret and feelings of like, oh, I'm not good enough and this and that. But if you do that in the beginning of the day, give yourself that time, even if it is 2 minutes, enough time goes by that you start to build that confidence, that assurance, that love and appreciation for yourself, and then you can go out and conquer everything else.
Yeah, I mean, even listening to your story, all that, seeing all that doubt and that negative talk about self, we need to override that. And then what a better way to do it, right? The first thing in the morning, and give yourself what you deserve, right? Feeding yourself first, putting your mask on, first, before helping others. And I think that's crucial.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about this chair that you showed me. So backstory on this chair. So we were again at the gym. You had your office that was basically a storage unit for the gym.
That's right, exactly.
And you happened to bring in this, it almost looked like a camping chair with these metal circular things on them. And you kind of explained a little bit about them, but it was really cool for me to experience, because I was kind of getting into that space of neuroscience and what it does for the body and mind and stuff like that. But what is this chair, and why do you want people to use it?
No, that's a great question. So the chair, it's called Shift Wave, and it is vibration therapy combined with meditation. And so, I try to explain it to a lot of people, and then I kind of give up, and I just say, you have to have your own personal experience. Right. We all feel stuff differently, proprioceptively against our skin. That being said, there are some people who totally are overwhelmed by it. It's a little too much for them. But the majority of people find that they go into this chair. It's kind of to explain. It's discs that vibrate, and they can vibrate pretty aggressively. You have the ability to adjust the intensity through your session. Sessions can go from 5 minutes to a couple hours long. I've never quite got that far into it. But while you're in there and you're feeling these vibrations go all up and down your body, I think there's 18 total discs that vibrate pretty much from the neck down to the calf. You're getting a guided meditation where you're hearing music, and the music is coordinated with the vibration. So when you're in that experience, so I guess backing up, like I've been in a massage chair, and maybe some of the people listening right now are like, oh, it sounds like a massage chair. It's a very expensive massage chair.
Yeah, very
expensive camping chair. But yeah, it is. It does have some of that aspect. However, when you combine it with sensory deprivation, you're typically wearing like blackout goggles. You're getting the guided breath work, and then you're also getting the vibration all simultaneously. It puts you more in the experience. You have a hard time disassociating or disconnecting with your body and letting your mind wander. It's pretty much focused in on what's happening. Yeah. And you talk about tragedy leading to triumph. The creator of the chair actually was going through some really deeply personal stuff, lost a friend, had just broke his leg. And so it just like insult to injury, right? All these things happening. And out of that darkness came this light of what ShiftWave is today, and is being used now by first responders and special operators, military, NFL. The NFL, I don't know at what capacity, but I know they pretty recently adopted it as a therapy tool.
Oh, cool.
So it really does have some pretty significant impact on whether you're recovering from something, whether you're performing at a really high level, playing at a professional level of sport. I've had all types on. I've had professional players on it. I've had those in their late 90s in it. I've had people all the way in between that, people with neuropathy, fibromyalgia. The interesting thing about it is, obviously, I mentioned the vibration. That vibration creates kind of the stimulus in the body. And when you take kind of what you feel proprioceptively on your skin and the nervous system response, and you create a space in there, it creates some relief that is hard to replicate. I mean, you can do it through, some people will sing or hum. You see people in yoga doing the humming, right? There is actually a purpose behind that. It's not just because it's part of what you're doing. It's what you're doing, right? It actually does create a space between that nervous system response and how you feel. So if you are experiencing pain or tension, whether it's emotional or physical, it does allow the body to open up a little bit. So I think there's a part of that in the chair that creates that variable vibration. So it's not a constant vibration. It varies left to right and up and down, and the intensity goes up and down as you're going through the experience that you're hearing audibly in your ear. And then, of course, with the breath work, what it's doing is it's putting your nervous system back towards baseline. So you're going more back into that parasympathetic state, which I tell people it's really hard to do that in the world. As we talked about in the beginning of the show, we have so much constant stimulus around us, right? Like, and I'm guilty of this, so I'll say, there are people who go home after a long day at work, they'll flip on the TV, they'll get on their phone, they'll be scrolling while the TV's on. Actively, your body is at rest. Neurologically, you are your brain doesn't know the difference between, the phone going, the TV going, and who else could walk in the room and a saber-toothed tiger outside your cave, right? It's your brain is on fire. And so some of the best things that we can actually do is get out into nature. Again, we mentioned, living in such a beautiful area, we have the ability to do that, which is great. But how many times do we actually do that without a cell phone or without adding the pressures of the outside world? Right? So what I love about ShiftWave, and of course about the stretching and then combining those things, is it does allow your body to get into a conscious state where you're thinking about recovery, you're thinking about relaxation, and in that process you're getting that nervous system reset that, again, is really hard to replicate. Now, if it was between the ShiftWave and sitting out just looking at a beautiful, mountainside, I would definitely take the mountainside, right? Or a beach, or whatever. Just that low impact. I don't have to think about anything. I'm just taking it in passively. I don't have to actively process anything. That is ideal. But if you can't get that, ShiftWave and self-care modalities like stretch are probably pretty close.
Well, I think it's like how you said earlier, it's kind of like a massage chair. People think that it may be a massage chair. It's very different because it's purpose driven. Whereas in like even my boxing program in my boxing bag, everybody has a boxing bag, but there's a program behind it that's purposeful, and it does certain things to the nervous system reset. And so this chair does that nervous system reset. And so when I was in it, and I'll just share my experience, it was really cool because you have the headphones in, and the meditation is kind of running you through like what's going to happen, and being prepared for the vibrations to get more intense. It definitely puts you in a heightened state when you get into the heavy vibrations, but then it instantly stops and shuts down, and then it actually resets everything. Like you almost just feel like you fall like 10 feet into yourself, and you're like, whoa. And so that doing those types of things is very purpose driven. And I love when I did that, and I realized afterwards, I'm like, oh wow, this is like very interesting what it did to my body. And everybody will think like, oh, you know, doing a stretch is a stretch, and you know, having this chair is just a chair. But if you're doing it with purpose or with an actual reason behind it, especially a nervous system reset and really coming back into self, that's where the energy's at. That's where it should, all these modalities that we're wanting to use in MOOV are going back to yourself. And so that's why this chair is so important. Stretching is so important, because it's a nervous system reset that we don't do. Like you just said, we're constantly on our TVs and our phones. You know, every other technology in the world we're trying to use to get ahead. But when do we take 10 minutes for ourselves? 95% of us will probably say we don't. So it's crucial for us to get back that nervous system reset, so that we have the ability not only just to get that reset, but trust ourselves enough in that space, because then that's where the magic happens, where you're like, oh, I could do this thing, and then you start creating your thing, and then it, you know, it runs through you, like you said earlier. So it's crucial for us to always be in that. I mean, it goes back to the spiritual. You go back to that spiritual reset of yourself, so that then therefore you trust yourself, you believe in yourself enough, you find your purpose again, and be able to attack whatever that thing is. I really enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, and you hit it perfectly. I mean, I've described it in a similar way. You know, it does escalate a little bit, and then allows you to de-escalate, and then that creates baseline, you know, in your nervous system. And you know, we do similar things in stretch. We use PNF, kind of a proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, where you're pushing against and resisting against the stretch in order to then relax it and then go deeper into that stretch. So in a similar way, the chair is using that kind of process to escalate, only to de-escalate, and then create that center line where you're now there. And yeah, I think, you know, going back to what you're saying and taking care of ourselves, I used to listen to a lot of kind of that self-help stuff, you know, long commutes to work. And so I listened to a guy, Jim Rohn, who had a saying that I really appreciated. He had a couple of them, but one of them was, I'll take care of me for you if you'll take care of you for me. Right? I like that. And yeah, and you think it's selfish for self-care, right? But how much more can you do with your child, with your children, with your wife, with whoever that is, right? If you're not completely spent.
Yeah.
Right? If you've given every bit of what you have to whatever it is you've given it to that day, and you have nothing left in the tank for, you know, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids, what good is that? You know, we've got to go back to the whole purpose of life, in my mind, is to have these experiences with the people we love. You know, it's kind of funny that we do the things that we don't want to do a lot of times in order to be able to do the things that we want to do. But then we end up spending so much time doing the things that we don't want to do, or we have to do, we feel like we have to do, that we kind of miss the whole purpose of why we're doing it. You know, and I know that's a kind of a brain twister a little bit, but I think that, you know, the more that we take care of ourselves, not in a selfish way, but in a selfless way, to be able to then help others, you know, and we see that a lot in you know, first responders and military. They're willing, you know, I have to tell my practitioners a lot of times, don't put your own body at risk or hurt yourself in order to help somebody else. Because when you do that and you're hurt, then think of how many other people you can't help in the future, right? And so if we're not paying attention to what our needs are, then we actually are, you know, doing an injustice, not just to ourselves, but to those who we, you know, who want us, who need us, who rely on what we have to offer. So
yeah, that is super important I think because, it's just, none of us do that anymore.
Yeah.
Especially how much we have to keep up with how the world is going. I always talk about, especially with business, especially with MOOV right now, it's like I had to slow down to speed up. Yep. And so taking a step back from the hurry up and make myself look busy or feel busy, and slow down and kind of like center myself back into me, so then I can work faster after that. So I think it's super important for all of us, especially at the beginning of the day. Hopefully that a lot of people can do that, but to really center ourselves back to us in the morning is super crucial, because we don't get it anywhere else, and nobody else is going to do it for us. So it's up to us to be able to do that type of stuff. And I think it comes back to again yourself, but it comes back to an attitude of like, who do you really want to be? You know, like, do you want to be that dad or that mother that's so out of shape or mentally drained from the day and not even spend any time with their kids? Do you want to be that husband, father? Do you want to be the kid that doesn't spend any time with their family, doesn't want to do anything inside of themselves? Like, I even think about with like being a husband, like what type of husband do I want to be? And if I'm not doing the things that I think I should be doing, like, then I have to kind of center myself back. I'm like, okay, I'm never going to cheat on my wife, because I know that, one, I would feel absolutely horrible if I ever did that, especially if I had to tell my girls that I cheated on their mother. That would kill me. So I never want to be that dad. Never want to be that husband. So I have standards and abilities that I've centered myself back into those things where I'm like, okay, I'm never going to be that dad. So I'm never even getting close to that type of stuff. And so having those standards for yourself and giving yourself those standards and those things that, like, I trust myself and I know myself enough that I'm going to keep myself physically strong, because I want to be the dad that walks into a room and like, dude, that guy works out. But also to like be in a room with, other men or other people and stand tall emotionally and spiritually, knowing who I am. A lot of guys couldn't do that because they're mentally, physically strong, but they're mentally broken. So it's like, I want to be all three. I want to be so strong, physically, spiritually, and mentally, and having those abilities as a man and as a wife and just a person in general. You don't have to be a male, but just to have those abilities and have those standards and have those things adapted to you in the morning, and those things that you want to do and be. If you trust yourself enough, you can do those. And so it's super, super crucial. I mean, we talk about the chair and we talk about stretching, but it's all works together synergistically. And these are just the modalities that you use and tools that you'll be able to use per day to be able to give yourself those things back.
Yeah. I was thinking too, while you were saying that, how many times did you have to break to become strong, right? Mm-hmm. How many times did you have to go through the shit to get to where you're at? And I think we're willing to accept that in the gym to work to failure, right? Oh, we work to failure. We can't lift anymore. And we wear that as a badge of honor. We work so hard, we can't even lift the bar anymore. But in other aspects of life, are we willing to take that failure in order to get that build?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? I mean, we should, but sometimes we look at that as a failure, right? As a weakness. Yeah. And it really isn't. I wouldn't consider you weak. If I saw you lifting the bar in the gym at the end of a 2-hour workout, I probably wouldn't talk shit to you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, if you couldn't lift the bar, I may throw it,
a little jab, a little fun jab. Yeah.
But it's the same when we see people in their struggle, right? They're at their weakest moment. They're really trying to push past something in their life. It doesn't mean that they're weak, right? It just means they're at that failure point and maybe they need some help, right? Mm-hmm. You need a spotter, a life spotter to come in and pull that bar off your chest. And so, again, that's the reason that we that we train. We do the things we do, but taking failure as the end result of, where you're at right now today, hopefully nobody's there, right? Hopefully we're looking at it as, and not to say I've never done that, because trust me, I've been through and will continue to go through a lot of things that hopefully will make me stronger. But it's really shitty when you're going on that deep end of life, So, but yeah, the recovery side of it certainly is important. I think more and more about that almost daily now. And again, I think it's part of the age that I'm at, and looking at my body as how many years do I want to continue to be able to use it, in a functional way where I'm not just getting through the day or getting through life. And then you think about all those checks you wrote in your 20s, like, okay, well, I don't know. I don't know when those are going to be, I don't want to overdraft it at any point, but, at the same time, the best thing you can do is whatever you're doing today. Whatever you do today to make tomorrow better, is the important thing. So,
and start today.
Even
if it's walking,
exactly.
It's something simple like that. So I also want to comment about your age. If anybody is watching this video, like to comment in this section to see how old Shawn actually is. Whoever's right, I'll give him a free t-shirt or something.
There you go. Let's go.
See if anybody gets it right.
There we go.
I'm glad that we were able to get you on the podcast today, because I think it's crucial. I mean, in all facets, all modalities, there's not a one thing fits everybody, So if this is something that you guys are wanting to learn more about, and, obviously, stretching is a daily thing, a daily habit that we all need to do, even if we are at the gym and stretching ourselves. It's, getting massages, going to you, getting these stretch routines done monthly, so that we are mobile and being able to do the things that we actually want to do. So it's the tools and aspects that you do daily or monthly to be able to be the person that you actually want to be today or in the future. Right. And so people will say like, oh, I gotta get in shape, and I'm blah blah blah. I have friends that do that all the time. I'm like, dude, you're never gonna do it. You just gotta go. Stop talking about it. So in that aspect, this is your guys' calling, and say like, oh, I'm going to start today and do it. And if it's a walk for 5 minutes, 10 minutes for the day, that's a great start. And if our Utah people want to know how to get a hold of you or want some of your services, how do they do that?
So onsitestretch.com, ONSITE stretch.com. We have locations. We have an office in Sandy and one in Lehigh. Our focus actually for the last several years has been all corporate. So the studios are kind of a newer thing for us. One of the most common questions we got, besides, questions about stretching, were where can I go to get this more often? And so up until fairly recently, we didn't really have a good answer for that. We would just say, go to one of the stretch studios out there or self-stretch. Now we do. So in Lehigh and Sandy. onsitestretch.com. You can call our number, 385-216-6725 is the phone number that you can reach to schedule out. It's not my personal phone. It's our business line. So, but what I love, and again, just to kind of go in theme with this, the plug here is over half of the people in the workforce right now do not do the things that they should be doing because they say they lack the time. Now, time is an elusive thing, right? Time is where we prioritize what we want to do. And when you're in the thick of things, raising family, building your career, time is very elusive, right? Yeah. We don't all have that ability to wake up in the morning. Maybe we've been up all night with a child, then we have to work all day. And then by the time we're done with the day, we're not going to spend that time at the gym or doing what we necessarily want to do. That is in part the reason that Onsite Stretch was created. It was created so that we can take out the time constraint and really reach those people who would love to do those things, and maybe give them a little bit of a kickstart in the middle of their day, because obviously going at 5 o'clock after work, if you've worked a full day and your wife's at home, or you have responsibilities at home, it's hard to make that decision to then go to the gym. But if at 2 o'clock in the afternoon it's down the hallway from you and you can just walk down and get a quick stretch, and then that gets your mind into the next evolution of your self-care, like, hey, I'm going to go work out now, or I need to focus more on my stretch or my breathing or whatever, then we've done our part, right? And even if it's just a one-time thing and we interact and we talk, even if it's just that mental conversation, and a lot of people I know will do it just for that time to get away from whatever it is going on in their life, right? And so that's important to me and to our teams. We have some really great people out there that are providing services, and so that's what we do.
Yeah, and it's such a unique thing to be able to go on site and get that thing done, because you think about a lot of these corporate companies, just any type of shop, they're 9 to 5, 6s, 7 sometimes, so it's like they're busy all day. They don't have time to go for an hour to go get to a studio. So having that ability to go,
and I think it's evolving a lot too. I think that companies are starting to see. I mean, there's a lot of. I can go on forever about the pressure of AI and what that's doing psychologically to people. The fear of what it is or could be or might be as it pertains to your job. I think this return to office, I don't know if it necessarily did everything that it hoped. Some of these people would do, and some of it was just to allow people to leave on their own, of their own free will. But I mean, you throw enough energy drinks at people, and you think that's a perk of working there. The companies that we work with that use our services absolutely can unequivocally say that it has changed the dynamic in their offices, the way people talk, the way they feel. I mean, even if we only get one person in, a group of 20 people around them, the energy level, the production level, the things that they're seeing that go well beyond just that feel good kind of a perk. And we're really trying to focus on that it's not just a perk. This is how people reset. This is how they become more productive. This is how they, this is why a lot of people are, able to push themselves, because let's face it, we go in and we work 8 hours. How many of those are actual work hours versus time that we're just trying to, we're looking at a screen and it's taking us way longer than it should to accomplish a task that should have been done, an hour into it. And so being able to really sharpen that saw and get those people refocused and re-engaged, they're finding it's paying, tenfold in the time spent to do that, and the cost of it is far exceeded. I mean, there's studies that are done that between $1.50 and $6 return on all the money you've invested. So if you think about that, even at the low end of that, still it's a net gain, right? Yeah. It's a gain to the company, and I don't know any business that wouldn't love to build a product that gets even a 1.5 return on what they built, but a 6x would be enormous, right? If I spent $1 million and got 6 in return, that'd be a huge win, right? So I think that looking at people, and really crucial right now, and I think there is a focus on health and wellness, but really crucial that people look at the impact that the things around us are having on us psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and then that all ties into the physical aspects. We're breaking people down. People are getting burnout at a way younger age. It used to be 40s, mid 40s. You had that mortgage payment. You had some kids in college. You were just strapped. You were trying to climb that corporate ladder. Now kids are coming in at 23, 24, 25, and they're already hitting those same burnout numbers that they did for people that, when I was, my dad was in the corporate world, right? Where he was hitting his wall, they're now hitting it 25, dude. It's terrifying.
There's a lot of things, I think, coming at the younger generation that they have to handle that just they can't they can't deal with. Their frontal lobe is just too much. So much
information. Well, it's just constant cortisol, constant overload. Mm-hmm. And it's not because they're not resilient. They are super strong, super amazing, capable individuals that can take on so much, but it's on all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I think it just stresses the importance of taking that reset in whatever form or fashion you can, whatever that is to you. You know, sauna, I love the sauna. I'll do a sauna daily, right? Cold plunge, getting out into nature, getting a stretch, going on the shift wave, all those things are extremely crucial to be able to keep our nervous system at baseline. Because if we do not do this, and I don't want to be hyperbolic and create this, alarmist and freak out, but truly there's going to be an impact on not only corporate America, but just generally speaking, the kids that are going to be raising our future generation are going to be so impacted by their inability just to allow themselves to relax and calm down. They're going to go into these, medications already are overused and they're trying to find a cure to this. And honestly, it's right in front of us. It's simple, but it can be a hard thing to do.
I think it's too kind of like, if you view it as like an NFL team, right? Mm-hmm. Like, imagine if they weren't taking care of their players in recovery.
Yeah.
Right? And you have players that will spend money on their own recovery, like hundreds of thousands of dollars for recovery because they know how important it is for them to be able to perform at their job and in life. Mm-hmm. And so, like, take that same concept with your employees. They're going to perform better if you're giving them the resources to recover in a proper way, and so that they can mentally and physically be there in a way that is beneficial for you, right? Because if you're not giving Derrick Henry his recovery, you think he's going to be plowing through people on the field? You know what I mean? He's going to be like, "Ow, my shoulder kind of hurts." You know what I mean? So you got to be able to find ways to allow people to get that, and that's what I love about you guys is these companies can bring you on site and do that for them, and then see that performance increase for everybody. And that's going to reflect into their own personal life as well, not just as the company. So it's a good whole. It's a very good whole.
Yeah. It's hard to measure presenteeism versus absenteeism, right? Mm-hmm. You're gone for the day. The team just kind of fills around and picks up the slack, and you kind of can quantify that. You can put it on a spreadsheet or a line item somewhere. When people are sitting there as zombies, dude, you have no idea, right? You, from a productivity level, maybe if you're a salesperson, you've got quotas and things, so you kind of measure that. You can see numbers on a spreadsheet, but your day-to-day, everyday person that's tasked with working with your clients and working with each other, and then going home to that, right? Going home to a family and just repeating the process over and over. There's a lot of way to reward people. Money is typically not the number one way to incentivize a person to either stay with your company or attract them to the company. What we're finding more and more is that companies are using services like ours or our service to really start attracting top tier talent and maintain people. And they truly look forward to that reset in the middle of their day. So, which we love too. I mean, my wife will often say, "Man, I wish I had a job where I got thanked all the time and people appreciated me." I'm like, well, then learn how to stretch. Come on. So, doors wide open. You have somebody that can train you. It's all good. So, but it is. I obviously don't want to use the scare tactics. Do whatever, right? I don't care what that is for you. It could be rubbing your head. If that resets your nervous system, great, do it. That's the important thing. But if you're an HR person or a CEO or a people experience person out there, truly look at what we're doing, because there is really hard numbers behind it. It's not just that feel good perk that I think a lot of people associate with what we do. It's a nice thing to have, sure. But the feel good is just it's just a side effect of the bigger picture. Yeah. The mental restorative increase in productivity and morale. We actually had one company who did a pretty significant layoff. So we just assumed, we're a line item on their spreadsheet. We're going to get cut because, we're expensive. Mm-hmm. We're not really that expensive. No, but they didn't. They actually increased the time we spent there because it was such a morale boost to their team that we kind of filled a void that they couldn't do by an all hands meeting, right? You can't get the CEO up there who's driving his, $100,000 Tesla or whatever, telling you how much he loves everybody who's still there, and have everybody just really, dig deep and want to work hard. Mm-hmm. But if you give them something from an external, service like what we do, that literally shows the appreciation, right?
So true.
It's the whole concept of, they don't always remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel. Mm-hmm. And that holds true with what we do. We come in, we, as a third party provider, provide a service on behalf of a company, and your employees appreciate it. Yeah. They love it. They're like, man, my company does this for us. This is amazing. It's probably one of the funnest things I've done in a long time.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think, and Adam and I kind of talked about this a little bit, we're developing that app, and there's going to be sections in there that have little video snippets for people to kind of follow along with either workouts or nutrition or things like that. And I think that would be something that, like, little different stretches, and they can do at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we would like you to have on that app so that they can have the ability to do that self-recover side of things, because it's so important.
I think we definitely will talk about that because there is a component that we're putting together right now. I mentioned, building out some software, and, our clients, our recurring clients, will have a dashboard so they can actually see the health of their client based on some metrics and some performance indicators that we can show them in real time, the impact that it's having. So it's not just, feel good data. It's some empirical data that shows participation rates and literal feedback coming directly from people pre and post service. So one of the cool things is we're able to capture that information going in and then coming out and then measuring that impact in that. And so that's pretty new to us as well, but that is starting to allow our companies to see more visually. So, when the CFO comes over and asks the experienced person, what is this?
Yeah.
What is
they
this?
Actually show numbers. Yeah.
They can show numbers, right? They can say, well, this is the impact that it's having in our company, and we're able to use that information not just for that particular company, but now we're starting to aggregate that data, across multiple companies to start seeing a visual impact of what that's doing. So,
cool. The data is huge.
Yeah,
it's so huge.
Yeah. We definitely want to have you on the app, in some fashion, whether it's programs, video programs, or even just like on the app, so people can like get a hold of you, get all that stuff.
Yeah.
Even have data on that part of it too. So we'll definitely want to talk more about that, because I think, to end it, I think it's more of, what MOOV and what you do on Onsite is all, we want to always collab and work together, because it's what we do, is one thing, what you do is one thing, but it's not like I'm trying to bring everybody that you have over to my side because I'm like, well, I have all of it. I'm like, I don't. And it's like being able to collab and work together with all these different modalities and specialists, that's where it's at. It's being able to just pull together all the people that are same mindset and really help everybody around us. And that's where MOOV's going. That's where we want to have everything coexist, because especially on the app, because it's just like it's going to be way different than a fitness app. It's going to be all of it, man. It's going to be I don't think I've ever seen an app like this, so it's going to be really cool to really showcase it once it's done, because it's going to be all, mind, body, spirit in all aspects of everything that I've ever seen and wanted to have in an app, or even just in an organization. To have it all on one thing, it's going to be super crucial.
We want to point people in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
Like if they're needing this thing, we're going to be like,
here
you go. We got you.
Yeah.
Right,
we're just kind of like the middleman of it.
Like, these are the guys to go to. trusted. Yeah. We approve them. Like, go to them. Yeah. They're going to help you out, get you where you need to be, come back to us, and then maybe there's a different modality that we can work on next, right? Because sometimes they got to get through one wall to get to the next thing, right? They can't start working out because they've got this issue, and it's like, okay, well, let's check your blood work. Let's make sure that, like, okay, are your levels right? Maybe you don't have energy because A, B, C. You know, do you need some stretching? Do you need a VR system that will allow you to heal some of that trauma that you're dealing with, or PTSD or TBI, things like that? Like, let's find a way to get you healthy and just elevate you bit by bit by bit in a way that's crucial.
Yeah, I think it's totally crucial. And I think that it's what turns a lot of people off to some of these different apps. They're so, single faceted. You need a multifaceted approach. We're all at different levels. And I've gotten years in the depressive state, right? I've gone years in a growth state. I've gone so you look back on life collectively and you have all these experiences. And at different times in life, you need different things, right? And so it's not always a one size fits all. That's why I tell people stretching, it's great. It's amazing. But, it might not be what you need.
Yeah.
Or it may be just one part of what you need in conjunction with a number of other things, right? You may need to see a chiropractor or doctor, massage therapist, and me, and all of us together can help you get on the right track. But at the end of the day, it's all you, my friend, right? It's your body, it's your brain, it's your mind, it's your spirituality. It's you having to go through that process and us providing the tools so that, again, through us, we can be part of that journey in some way, right? Even if it's just emotionally somebody to lean on during that time of toughness and that time of building when you're completely spent and you need that spotter to proverbially lift that bar off your chest and get you to that next phase of life.
I love that. Well, I appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome.
Appreciate you guys listening. If you have any things that you want to know more about with Shawn and Onsite, definitely hit him up. We'll put all the stuff in the descriptions. And just thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next podcast.